other courses, so it's going to be around 5,000 for the personality development course, and anywhere from 12 to 22,000 for the subject coaching, subject plus CET, competitive exam coaching. So we're looking at an extra investment of let's say about 20,000 rupees. Now, given that we are not funding college scholarships, which used to cost about 15 to 20 a year for 4 years, if we make this one investment of 20,000, I think it will go a long way. And we are still brainstorming in terms of, who do we partner with, how do we scale this motivational program. For Bangalore, we have at least one possible solution. How do we scale it to other cities?
What is the solution for Bangalore?
So there's this company called Buoyancy.
Also, when you resources still would have to be marshaled.
That's right.
Yeah. Service providers there.
So there needs to be some financial planning and modeling and budgeting here. Whether this extra 20K is, so we run a pilot and see what's the ROI on this, and do some before and after metrics. And if the ROI is good, then we could go and scale this further.
So I think one thing that was interesting from the meeting at the Ramakrishna Institute is that 100% of the students who made it to professional degree colleges said that they did some kind of coaching. And that's something different from 20 years ago or 30 years ago, where not very few people went for some kind of coaching. But it looks like everybody does some kind of coaching.
These were FFE scholars.
Yes, FFE scholars.
That's right.
So
of course, was not funded by FFE.
Yeah, it was not funded by FFE.
Right, yeah.
But the thing is that to be required to be successful, essentially it looks like either it's required or at least psychologically required to get it.
At least from my time,
Yeah.
I in the 12th, I did Agarwal classes for IIT, and I don't know about you, but we all felt like it was necessary.
The very old days.
Yeah, so even we did very well in 10th and 11th, but I remember every one of my classmates in IIT, they all went through Agarwal or Brilliant or some training and coaching. Because it's actually a tough time. I mean, there's your usual curriculum, there's exams, and then there's the competitive exams.
The tough part is that if you look at the number of seats in just the IITs and these other good colleges, there aren't that many.
Yeah.
That's true.
And the competition is so fierce. That's the other side of the problem.
Differentiation is the fourth or fifth.
That's leading to
decimal
some
point.
other phenomenon.
Yeah.
That is, many students are even choosing not to take IIT entrance exam at all, because they feel it's a much safer bet to focus on their 12th standard studies, get good marks in 12th standard, which opens up several other opportunities, and they think that's a safer bet than putting your money on JEE.
Some very good students don't make it in spite of all the coaching.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's almost like a game of chance.
And that's where Ajit Kaikani of Buoyancy was telling me that it's really there's some emotional development needed there. It's because of the difficult time. Also, some of the family environments, given the strata that we are looking at, is difficult environments, hard environments. Students have difficulties because of that as well. So he was saying anything we can do to increase their self-confidence, mature their emotional abilities, goes a long way. A lot of them, it's the problems of diffidence and no, I can't do this, kind of a attitude.
How do we bring these students from these rural settings to an environment where this Buoyancy, you said?
Buoyancy.
Buoyancy,
Yeah.
okay. Where they're able to provide them coaching and still be able to send them back home and stuff like that. And what is the logistics of that?
So that's the scaling issue we have with Buoyancy. They only have a center here in Bangalore.
So you have to be a Bangalore resident to be able to do it.
Right. Otherwise,
Now,
yes. It's a once, you can schedule it, structure it in such a way that it's once a week, but still you have to do that, once a week commute. And it really depends on the few individuals there, because we can't just say multiply this and have it in every place. Because without the talent, the person who's
To drive this.
to drive this, it's hard. So we need to identify similar outfits around.
I think this is a very interesting program. I mean, I obviously had a very little idea of what you guys are doing in this, but very well thought through and looking at it. And it would be a very good experiment to run and find out what consequences we can bring to bear.
So the rural program is scheduled to begin in a couple of weeks, actually.
I think I should also, though, share with you another data point, and that is we believed that this government loan program actually works. We're finding out it doesn't for the college programs.
Yeah.
So I think that my data is correct, right?
So, sorry, what
The
is
college loan program doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, there are, yes. I've been talking to some people, and yes, it works for some, it doesn't work for most people in the category of students.
Yeah,
Who
people
we are
are
addressing.
scared of taking a loan. I think there's a number of different things. People are not applying. I think even.
It seems like the banks
So they're
want
not
lots
getting
of
it.
collateral.
They're not getting it without a
Yeah.
guarantor.
See, they say the banks are required by the government to give loans in this category, but the banks are very reluctant.
Yes.
So they keep trying to find reasons why they can't
They
give
can
a
get
loan.
it. That's what's happening.
So in Pragati, 2 scholars went for loans. One got it straight away, and one was refused the first time, and then the father persisted with the higher branch, the next higher order branch,
They were able to get it.
and then they got it finally.
So Suresh,
It was a bit of a
that's what
struggle.
Yeah, that's what we are doing. Yesterday I talked to the chairman of Canara Bank for one student who could not get the loan. He looked at the letter and said, "Oh, Mr. Seshan, this student is from Raipur, Madhya Pradesh. I cannot do anything for the northern states." He's the chairman of Canara Bank, saying that northern states are very difficult. You come to me with any student from Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, I will try and get you the loan. Now, how can I, what do I do?
It's a national
That's a
bank.
reality. though.
It's a national bank, but he
Yeah.
says, no, I cannot do anything for northern states. And this is, the letter was from State Bank of India. It's a minority student, a Muslim's parent, school teacher, but unfortunately he's not getting a pension, so he's not having any income, and they refuse to give a loan. And they won't take his brother's income as a as a possibility of paying the interest. They just out, and the parent has a small home of about 4 to 5 lakhs worth of rupees, and they said, no, this is not acceptable, we don't want immovable property. So basically they had made up their mind not to give it.
So we
Yeah.
have to
Really think
as
about
the India board. I think we'll be asking you
Yeah.
how
Okay.
can we strategizing on this side also.
Yes, yes.
So make sure we solve that problem.
Yes.
So I'd like to go on to the next topic, which is how do we involve corporate India? And we have made really big inroads in there. I think we've been busy with other things, but let me talk about what we intend to do. We want to be able to make presentations to corporates, and I think we have plenty to highlight about FFE's accomplishments. But what we need clarity on, of course, is the mission and what our focus is going to be. And I'm sure once the Board of Trustees, you can give us direction with regard to what should be our main message to corporates. Whether the focus is going to be on high school students, or are we going through a transition of figuring out whether the loans program is what we're going to pursue, or a combination of loan and scholarship.
So I think, Sudha, just as I think about it, since we're still in a transition
Yes.
phase over here right now, we must not try to position ourselves as addressing either the high school or the college
Okay.
program. I think what we should be saying is that we're going after the bright, underprivileged children,
Okay.
and we're going to make a meaningful transformation in their lives, and we're doing it through a combination of activities, the bulk of which has historically been at the college level.
Scholarships, yeah.
And we're now exploring ways where we can find these kids earlier, so that some of these guys don't slip through the cracks. But keep it at that level, so you don't even have to bother to define what your vision is, different from what we've already created.
Yes.
Because all of these are experiments, still experiments. In
Yes.
fact, the loan program is still an experiment in my mind.
Yes.
When we decided to slow down on providing scholarships, we erroneously believed that it was the loan program was working, and we're discovering that it was a mistake. We did not really go out and test the water sufficiently to conclude whether it's real or not. Now we're finding out that it may not be as real as we think. So I think rather than take a hard position that we're at the high
Yes.
school 10+2 level or the college, we just say we're making a difference, so we make them into
Okay.
great professionals. Making them into professionals is the message, right?
Okay.
And I think at that point, they are making a significant difference to the corporates. Right? So, in essence, when we're asking corporates to get involved, we're saying you get involved so that you don't have a shortage of talent down the road. Right? You get attached to these children so that you have a higher likelihood of being able to bring them to your company.
Yes.
Third, you have a PR program where you can advertise the fact that you're a good corporate citizen. and your cost of recruiting is coming down. Right? So when we present it in terms of the value that we're giving them, it's in their self-interest as opposed to in their, shall we say, interest in charity to promote this program. And I think that's the way they need to see it.
Because what we're hoping to do is make these presentations and so that everything is part of the corporate social responsibility program where we can get matching grants like we have done in the US.
Yeah. But you know, when you pitch corporate social responsibility, I would soften that a little bit and say it is in your
self-interest.
In your self-interest. Right? Because if, when you pitch it to somebody and say you're doing it as charity, and you're pitching it to a corporate, the people that are making the charitable decision are usually not at the level that you're pitching to.
Yes.
Okay, but if you pitch it to them in their self-interest, then they're usually able to make that decision much better. If you go to Bill Gates, you'll probably get it, right? But if you go to an intermediate level in Microsoft and you pitch a charitable project,
It's not going to
not a
work.
chance. I mean, he'll agree to sponsor, but he'll go up the ladder, maybe. It depends upon his personal inclination. But if he's an executive and he's worried about the interest of the company, I think he's more likely to push that.
Publicity for that. So Mahesh is already for the rural program. We've got some media out in the Kannada media. We've got some coverage. We're hoping that as we have more events, we'll be covered as well. You know, I think that's part of creating the awareness here locally. We've talked about holding some sort of FFE India conference where we could bring in thought leaders and possible partners and engage them in some way so that we can look at long-term partnerships. We've talked about it, but you know, we're hoping we can do that sometime this year. We want to increase our volunteer base because I think the kinds of projects and activities that we have, we would need more people. We're hoping we can tap into the student alumni base here. You'll see that today we've called about 50 of them. And I think we have plenty that we can tap into other than individuals like us. One of the other things we were planning to do is have events like this, informational events where we can call corporate heads, we can call government officials like we're having today, and members of academia, and have these informational events and hopefully have 3 or 4 of them this year leading up to a formal FFE India launch. And we're hoping we could use that as a platform for fundraising as well. So it will be an awareness, information, and a fundraising event. And we are hoping that we can do that the latter part of this year. And finally, I think for all the activities that are going on here, we may need some help in terms of office space, perhaps for publicity, and so that we have a meeting place as well. And I know that volunteers here have very generously donated their office space before, and we have something to consider more seriously now. The numbers are growing here and activities are increasing. So that's something that we'd like to seriously consider.
So just a thought while you were talking about increasing corporate awareness. So you're looking at creating some awareness of this pilot program.
Yes.
I think that's wonderful. We'll have to wait a little bit till we get the results over there.
That's right.
I think what we have not, the history of FFE, okay, we have not publicized any of the case studies of India within India. We've done a little bit more of that in the US and Silicon Valley, but we've practically done nothing. So if you look at, I do not know what our exact numbers are in terms of students that have graduated, but this brochure now claims it's over 2,500 that have graduated. Last time I remember it was 1,500. But that's a very large number. And what we should do is actually find ways to create interesting stories around these individuals. And you pick 3 or 4 at a time, and the press would love the stories. Okay, because